Presented by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Welcome to Philadelphia, beautiful Citizens Bank Park, as these Phillies and Blue Jays continue their 4-game series. This one, the 2 games are in Philadelphia. Blue Jays split to 2 games at Rogers Center. They were shut out on Monday. They won on Tuesday, and this will be a familiar face for them. That's Jeremy Hellickson, the former Tampa Bay Ray, who is pitching in his first season with Philadelphia. Let's take a look at the lineup for John Gibbons' Blue Jays. Big win yesterday. They scored 11 runs. They're now 5 games over 500. Third in the American League East, Jose Bautista. His career numbers against Hellickson are very good. He's done a great job against Hellickson, driving the ball out of the ballpark. He has 3 career home runs and a .367 average against Hellickson. And Josh Donaldson, he's in the 3rd spot tonight as Carrera's going to lead off. Donaldson's got a 7-game hit streak and hit his 3rd career grand slam in yesterday afternoon's game at Rogers Center.
They will be facing 29-year-old Jeremy Hellickson, now in his 6th year in the major leagues. 13 starts this year. There's his record at 4-4. He has given up more hits than innings pitched, but he's only walked 20 batters all season long. Last time out, he was matched up against Steven Strasburg, and he lost like everybody else has lost against Strasburg this year. June really hasn't been a very good month for Jeremy Hellickson. He's made 2 starts. He's pitched 11 innings, and he's given up 10 earned runs. The Blue Jays know all about Hellickson from his days with the Rays. He's made 15 starts against the Blue Jays in his career, and he's held them to a .241 batting average.
Taking a look at the defense for the Phillies. Cody Ashley's in left. Ottavio Herrera is in right. Peter Borges with a great spree in right field. Herrera's the center fielder. Blanco, Galvis, Hernandez, and Joseph from 3rd base to 1st base around the infield. Carlos Ruiz, the veteran pitcher, will team up with Jeremy Hellickson tonight.
And there's a lot of athletes on this diamond for the Phillies. There's one of them in center field, Ottavio Herrera. He's made every start in center field but 2 games this year. 121 starts last year, all in center field. He became the first Major League rookie to hit .297 with at least 30 doubles and 16 stolen bases since Ichiro back in 2001.
This says Ezekiel Carrera, who is leading off tonight. He is playing in left field. No Michael Saunders in the starting lineup. Hellickson is set. Here's the first pitch of the game. It is in there for a strike, and we are underway. Carrera has played in all 3 of these games against the Phillies. On Monday, he was down in the order, batting in the 6th spot. He went 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. He had a 2-run home run and a single in yesterday's game.
And that is why he is at the top of the lineup this evening. Number 1, you got the pitcher hitting 9th. But John Gibbons was also saying that Zeke's been swinging a hot bat, and he wants to get him on base before the big guys start to hit.
Blue Jays hit 4 home runs in yesterday's game. They've also been a quick strike offense. They're 3rd in the major leagues in runs scored in the 1st inning. They've outscored their opponents 11-3 in the 1st inning over the last 7 games, and Jose Bautista drops into the 2 spot this evening.
You know, we've talked about this in the past also. You put your 3 best hitters up there. If you don't have that
pitch outside, 2-2.
But you put your 3 best hitters, number 1, and so that starter, he better bring his A game early on.
Full count. Ball is hit into the air. Herrera's got good speed, and he runs it down in the alley in left center.
That's why we talked about him. He's got some speed out in the outfield. He was a Rule 5 draft pick from Texas, and he's going to play every day in center field. The Phillies, that's one thing we've noticed over the first 2 days. They've got a lot of athletes on this field, on that diamond.
He's a pretty good athlete for the Blue Jays. Jose Bautista, we mentioned he has 3 career home runs against Jeremy Hellickson. Bautista missed the final 3 games of the Orioles series on the most recent homestand. You know what they might have to do tonight? They might have to put a mirror out there, because these 2 pitchers tonight
Hellickson and Estrada, they're just like one another. It's like looking into a mirror.
There's that changeup, and Hellickson has always had that changeup. He learned it in the minor leagues from Dick Bosman, a longtime major league pitcher who was the minor league pitching coach for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Took him right to the big leagues, took him right to a Rookie of the Year.
2011 American League Rookie of the Year. Bautista pops this one up out in front of home plate. Ruiz, the catcher, is out, makes the catch, and Bautista is out on the pop-up.
Jose with a little bit of a bat flip, but that one is because he missed a pitch. That was a pitch that was out in front of the plate, a pitch that he normally hammers, and he's upset with himself.
So Bautista pops out, second out of the inning. Now it'll be Josh Donaldson who drops down into that third spot. Mentioned Josh has got that 7-game hit streak, and he had a big day yesterday, obviously. With his third career grand slam. There's that changeup. By the third inning yesterday, Donaldson had been 3 for 3. 2 doubles, a grand slam home run. He had scored 2 runs and driven in 5. That was after 3 innings.
He's starting to swing a hot bat. Look at the defense that the Phillies are going to throw out there where the shortstop and the third baseman are. It's almost like they can touch hands. They are so close to each other with a huge, and I mean huge, hole up the middle.
Yeah, that's very interesting defense. We haven't seen this alignment very often against Donaldson. Coming inside. Better be careful in there. He's quickened up dramatically over the last couple of weeks. He can really get on that inside pitch now.
Staying in the middle of the field. His routine is a lot better. His rhythm at the plate is a lot better.
Ground ball. Galvis has it. Easy inning for Jeremy Hellickson. 3 up, 3 down. Marco Estrada will take the mound here in Philadelphia when we come back. Make his 13th start of the season, and Estrada for his career 1-1 in 10 games, 4 career starts against the Phillies. Now let's take a look at the lineup for Pete Buchanan's Philadelphia Phillies. Odubel Herrera top of the order. Tommy Joseph, the youngster, is hitting cleanup, and he has really fared well here at Citizens Bank Park, a .310 average with 4 extra base hits. And down in the 8th spot, Peter Borges has a mini 3-game hit streak. He's 5 for 8, double and a triple. Hit that triple against the Blue Jays, and he's driven in a pair.
12 starts this year for Marco Estrada. Marco is 4-2 with a .257 earned run average. That leads the team, and he's 4th in the American League in that earned run average. He hasn't lost since April the 27th, even though he is getting just 3 runs a game. Outstanding numbers. He's 5th on the club in innings pitched at those 80.2 innings. Lefties can't figure him out. Righties can't figure him out. He doesn't walk too many people. He just throws it in there and keeps everybody off balance.
His splits are fairly even against lefties and righties. This is Odubel Herrera, the center fielder, leading off. First pitch is in there for a strike. Herrera batting .311 for the season. So as Bunton pulls the bat back. Herrera hit a home run on Monday night. He had a 3 RBI game Monday. He was 0 for 2 in the first 2 at bats yesterday, but then had an RBI double and a single. Finished up 2 for 4 in that game.
And do you want to know how aware Marco Estrada is? Even before Herrera got into the batter's box, he was telling Josh Donaldson and Edwin Encarnacion to move in. This guy might try and bunt on me. A lot of people have been successful at getting hits off of Marco Estrada, but he felt like he might be trying to get himself on board by dropping a bunt down. So he tells his infielders to move in.
1-2. There's a little flare, and Donaldson is right there, packed up just in time. 1 out. Let's take a look at the defense. Ezequiel Carrera is in left field tonight, as Michael Saunders is not starting in this game. Kevin Pillar, Jose Bautista, center and right. Donaldson and Goins at short tonight. Kevin Travis at second. Edwin Encarnacion playing first in this National League ballpark, and Russell Martin's behind the plate.
Good to see Jose back in the outfield. The first start in the outfield since June the 9th. Remember when he was pinch run for in the 6th inning in that game. He missed 3 games. He DH'd his last 2, and now he's okay for the outfield. Good to see him back out there.
Freddie Galvis, the fine shortstop, switch hitter, batting left-handed against Estrada. It's a 1-1 count to Galvis. Galvis had just 1 hit in the series in Toronto. He had a single in yesterday's game.
He looks like the kind of hitter that should slap the ball around the infield and the outfield, doesn't he? Doesn't have a whole lot of power.
No, he's not a power hitter, and sometimes when he hits home runs, it gets him in trouble. He's got 6 home runs this season, but he should be more of a contact hitter, batting just .225.
Yeah, .225.
Estrada continues to baffle hitters with that great changeup. Strikes out Galvis, 2 down.
Well, what makes Marco Estrada so tough is he's got 4 different pitches, and every one of them is very successful. The curveball, they're hitting .250. That's the highest average against Estrada this year. He's got the fastball, the cutter, and that outstanding changeup at just .124. And the thing about Marco, he can throw any of those pitches at any time in any count. And he does a good job of reading bats, so if he feels like you're sitting on that changeup, he'll throw that fastball in there and tie you up.
Andres Blanco takes a fastball for a strike. Blanco is filling in at third base for Michael Franco, their fine young third baseman. And we saw Franco hitting today in batting practice, so he's dealing with a knee issue, and he might not be that far away from getting back into the everyday lineup.
Well, if he's got a knee problem, I'd hate to see him when he's healthy, because he was looking good in that batting cage today. He has got 1 quick bat.
Sitting next to the veteran Ryan Howard on that Philly bench. 2-1. There's another good fastball. It looks to me like Russell Martin is trying to put fastball in the minds of the Philly hitters early on.
If you do that, if you establish that fastball, you can go to that changeup whenever you want to.
Bounce that changeup right on home plate. Russell's done a good job, and early on there were a lot of people that questioned whether or not Russell could have the same success catching Estrada as Yonder Navarro had last year. I don't think there are any more questions about that. Line drive, base hit, left field. Bronco got a fastball upstairs and ripped it into left, a 2-out single.
Well, you just go to the source and you ask Marco Estrada, hey, how's it going with Russell back there? He says, I love throwing the Russell. Puts down the right numbers. He does a great job of framing the ball. This time it is fastball that is just up, and Blanco stays right with it. But there is no problem at all the transition to Russell Martin catching. Russell's an excellent receiver and game caller.
So that'll bring the big first baseman to the plate with a runner at first and 2 outs, Tommy Joseph. Mentioned Joseph batting .310 here at home this season. There's a curveball in there for a ball inside. Joseph playing in just his 26th game, hitting .272 for the season. He gets his first taste of that Estrada changeup and pulls it into the seats.
Yeah, of course, he was a little bit out in front and pulled it. They've been throwing him a lot of breaking balls, and he's been popping them up, hitting the ball to right field. They've been pitching backwards against this guy. That means in fastball counts, they're throwing him breaking balls, and vice versa, and he's having some trouble with it.
0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts in the first 2 games against the Jays. Just off the plate, number 4 missed the outside corner. 3-1 now.
And Russell's probably asking right now, well, the one that was inside you called inside, and the one that was outside you called off the plate. Got to have one of those.
Pitch number 1, yep, right on the corner.
Got to have one of them.
Now that was predictable. Tommy Joseph, just coming up from the minor leagues, gets a hitter's count, 3-1, thinks he's going to get a fastball. That's not the case.
That's the thing about the big leagues. They can find a weakness and they can exploit it.
3-2, 2 outs. Blanco's on the move. This is a deep drive to left. Carrera is there and makes the catch just short of the wall in left. Tommy Joseph flies out to end the inning. The Phillies get a base hit and strand a base runner. We played an inning here in Philadelphia. No score. Carrera had played in right. Tonight he starts in left. No problem at all. Right up against the fence in left to end the first.
Heritage Night. That is correct. It was an idea the Phillies had, knowing there were so many Canadians that come here and they do the home and home series. They got Matt Stairs involved, printed out these t-shirts that say Canadian Heritage Night. Stairs threw out the first pitch, and guys, they sold something called Toronto Swordfish in the media room. I don't think it was from Lake Ontario.
No, probably not, but it was very nice to have Matt Stairs throw out the first pitch on this Canadian Heritage Night here at Citizens Bank Park.
Threw a strike. 60 feet 6 inches.
He's a ball player, man. Edwin Encarnacion. He did not play in the opener on Monday, and the Blue Jays were shut out 7-0. Here's Matty throwing that first pitch.
Look where that right foot is, right on the rubber, and he pushes off and throws a seed to Ryan Howard. Still got it.
0-2 to Encarnacion. Ground ball foul. Edwin 2-run home run in the 7th yesterday against Colton Murray. Home run number 16 for Edwin.
And I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
That's the last ball he sees on the inner half for tonight and tomorrow. They've been pitching away from his power. You have to pitch away from his power. This is a ballpark that Edwin loves.
Swing and a drive. Home run down the left field line. That's number 11 in this ballpark in just 19 games. They didn't pitch away from his power.
They should have been listening to us. As soon as I saw Ruiz move to the inner half, I'm like, this is a mistake. You can't pitch this guy inside like that. He's heating up. Everything he's hitting is leaving the ballpark. He loves hitting here. You can't give him anything in there. Watch Ruiz move to the inside part of the plate. Hellickson tries to throw that little breaking ball, and this one goes a mile.
Up into that second deck above the MLB sign, and that's home run number 17, RBI number 56. When he gets it going, it's tough to get him out. Phillies have seen this all too often. As we mentioned, he came into this game in 64 career at-bats at this ballpark with 10 home runs. Now it's 11 in 65 at-bats.
So you know that, right? So why do you even go inside? He slides in there and he can enjoy that one. That had that distinctive sound of the crack of the bat. Got all of it. I was talking to him in Toronto about what he's going through right now, and he said, when I get my pitch, I've got to hit it. I've been missing it. I've been fouling it back. He's starting to get his pitch, and he's not missing it.
Well, the problem is he might only get it once or twice a game. It depends on the situation, and leading off the inning, they got a little frisky, tried to come inside. We have seen it when nobody's on and there are 2 outs. He doesn't get a thing to hit.
Nothing. So why do you pitch to him leading off the inning? We'll take it.
2-2 to Russell Martin. Martin pops it up. Tommy Joseph, the first baseman, into foul ground, makes the catch. That's the first out of the inning. Jeremy Hellickson began his career with the Tampa Bay Rays. He's not made a start against them since 2014, but the last 4 haven't been very good.
Yeah, they know all about him from his days with the Rays. 15 starts, and the last 4 haven't been good. They've averaged 5 runs against a very high earned run average, and they've hit with runners on in scoring position. The thing about Jeremy Hellickson, he's got to really hit his spots. His fastball tops out about 91, maybe 92. He's got a decent curveball and an outstanding changeup, but he has to hit his spots. If he doesn't, you can see what happens when Edwin connects. It goes a long way.
Kevin Pillar hit one a long way yesterday. Pillar's starting to square it up on a consistent basis. Kevin hit a home run in his first at bat in yesterday's game in the 2nd inning. A leadoff home run deep to left.
Look at the extra base hits coming for Pillar over the last 8 games. And what he's doing at the plate is pretty simple. He said, I'm swinging until I see that ball is off the plate. And I think that's an outstanding way to go up there and hit. Sometimes you can get paralyzed thinking about your mechanics too much. Sometimes it's easy just to shut it all off and just swing.
There's another pop-up, another catch by Tommy Joseph in foul ground. 2 outs. So after the leadoff home run, Jeremy Hellickson gets 2 pop-outs. Cesar Hernandez had been thinking that was it. He was already in the dugout. He wanted to hit. One more, Cesar. One more.
One more. That's what that scoreboard is for. There's only been 3 batters this inning.
He got confused with that Encarnacion home run. Brian Goins, the shortstop tonight. Goins is 1 for 5 in his career against Hellickson. Jeremy throws that first pitch curveball in there. Estrada and Hellickson are very similar in their styles. They don't overpower you with the fastball. They'll throw a great changeup, mix in the curveball from time to time. There's a deep drive to center. Borges is on the run. He's not going to get this ball. Up against the wall. Goins is turning around second. He's headed for third. Hernandez will throw to third, but not nearly in time as Goins has another triple. That's his second of the season. A 2-out triple for Ryan Goins.
They're going to give up their share of home runs if they don't hit their spots, and Hellickson misses his spot again. That looked like it might have been a cutter right there. Teams are hitting .385 off of his cutter, and Ryan Goins tagged that one to deep right center field, and he makes it easily, really without a throw to third base.
Well, we have talked about that cutter, how that's one of my pet peeves. I think it's overused, and I don't think it's a great pitch. I think it should be used infrequently as a surprise pitch every once in a while. So Devin Travis, he's hitting in the 8th spot with the pitcher behind him.
Don't expect much if you're Devin Travis right here. You're going to get a lot of junk, slow stuff, and pitches off the plates. I think that's one of the hardest jobs in the National League, to hit number 8 in front of that pitcher.
Gets another curveball, and Hellickson got him to chase that low hook. What you don't see anymore, and it's universal in the game, you don't see guys crowding the plate. Hitters standing up in front of the box, getting right on top of the plate, especially against a guy like Hellickson. You take away that curveball, you challenge him to throw you fastballs, and you really coax him into your strengths.
He'd be the perfect guy to do that. Get on the plate and get up in the box.
0-2. Throw him a changeup. Didn't get much to hit. Hellickson strikes him out, but the Blue Jays break out on top. Edwin Encarnacion, he is always a threat in this ballpark. It didn't take him long. His first at bat, he goes deep. Home run number 11 here in Philadelphia.
Members, it is now time to earn yourself some points simply for watching tonight's broadcast. The code for this evening is MBJ0092. The entry box can be found on your My Blue Jays homepage. You have till 11:59 to enter that code, and we will have another one for you tomorrow. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. You can see the Blue Jay fans here in Philadelphia. They came to see Edwin put on a home run show, and he didn't waste any time. Edwin with 11 career home runs in 19 games in this ballpark, and he is 1 for 1 tonight. Cody Ashe, the left fielder. Right at 200 for the season. On Monday, he was 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. He walked in the 7th and 8th and came around to score both times. Yesterday, Ashley was 0 for 3. This is a high, deep drive to right, and this game is tied. No question about that one. Cody Ashley. It's his second home run of the season, and it's a 1-1 ball game.
First inning was very similar. Nothing across for both of these pitchers. Hellickson gives up a long home run to the leadoff batter in the second. Marco Estrada does the same thing. I told you they're a mirror of each other. They look the same, they throw the same. And this one landed in the second deck also. Looked like a cutter also, 2-0 cutter to Ashley that he puts into the stands.
I think Andy Pettit and Mariano Rivera really did pitchers a disservice because they had such good cutters. So everybody thinks, I'm going to develop a cutter. Well, the shortcut. It turns into a mediocre fastball.
You know, it works when you put it in the spot that you need to, but you know, maybe a right-handed pitcher against a right-handed batter and you keep it off the plate in a 2-0 count, something like that. He just missed that time, and Ashley was waiting for it.
Carlos Ruiz, the veteran catcher. Ruiz has had a terrific run here in Philadelphia. This is his 11th season. And a terrific season in 2012. It was a one-hopper hit to Goins. Plenty of time. One down.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Beautiful ballpark here, Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Cesar Hernandez goes after the first pitch. Pilar makes the catch, 2 down. That's the one thing I think that Estrada is going to have a good night, because is the fact that the Philly hitters are really aggressive. They are up there swinging, and I think Estrada can take advantage of that.
Yeah, that, and they haven't put together some monster seasons so far. This isn't like the Philly team that was in the World Series a few years ago. You know, they don't have that young Ryan Howard or Utley or Rollins or Worth or some of the other big boppers that they've had before.
Yeah, that era is gone, and those players have moved on. In fact, Jimmy Rollins was just let go by the White Sox. Utley's playing well for the Dodgers. And Ryan Howard's spending most of the time as an extra player now for the Phillies.
Well, there's no question that the Phillies are in a rebuild mode right now, so they're going with a lot of young kids, and they're filling out their roster with some veterans.
There's a good curveball from Estrada.
Still got to make your pitches, though. Still have to execute.
Ryan Howard hit a home run in Toronto, his 10th of the season. It came on Monday night. One ball game. Cubs trading solo home runs. If you're the Phillies, I don't think you want to trade home runs with the Blue Jays. You're going to lose that matchup every night.
A little bit more firepower for the Blue Jays. Phillies know all about that.
Hop straight back. These two teams play a lot of games against each other in spring training. They know a lot about the two teams, even though they're in different leagues. Popped over the screen, straight back behind home.
I like that we play the Phillies every year.
Yeah.
I like coming to this town. It's a great ballpark. Interleague play, it's not that far. Great
it is
city.
A beautiful ballpark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gorgeous strikes out, just like in the top half of the inning. Cody Ashley leads off the inning with a long home run to right. It's a 1-1 game.
Partnership with Scotiabank. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Gordie and Colleen Howe Foundation. Available on newsstands Thursday. Guys, today was Gordie Howe's funeral in Detroit. And just an example of how much he meant to the world of hockey. Even Johnny Bauer, mid-90s, made the trip all the way from Toronto to attend Gordie Howe's funeral.
Well, obviously, he meant a lot to the hockey world and to the world in general. He was a class act in every interpretation of the word. Marco Estrada, he's a former National League pitcher, so he's got a lot of at-bats. He has 125 official at-bats. He's got 19 hits. Tried to shoot one down the right field line. Marco has 4 doubles. He's not hit a triple, nor has he homered. He has 7 career RBIs. His best season, 2013 in Milwaukee, at 7 hits and 34 at bats, just over 200.
He's a good athlete. You watch him set up. That's a good, strong setup. Blue Jays are fortunate in this interleague game that they get 2 ex-National Leaguers pitching for them, so they get the hit.
Jay Happ will pitch tomorrow night, former Philly.
And Marco, don't get upset. He's probably thinking, like, hey, I can hit too. I know he can hit. We saw him in San Francisco.
Jay Happ had a hit. Yep, he was 1 for 3 in San Francisco, and his career numbers against the Phillies pretty good. He was a Philly, made his debut with the Phillies. Estrada pops it up. Hernandez, the second baseman, calls off the first baseman, makes a basket catch. Estrada's retired. That'll turn the lineup over. All the pitchers enjoy when they watch their fellow pitchers take some hacks.
Get the pool?
They probably got a pool going. Yeah, who's gets the most hits?
Who gets the most hits in 2016 when they have interleague play? Thought Marco might have dumped one in there when it left the bat.
Said, man, they were throwing me hooks, but I got that fastball, almost got a base hit. Ezequiel Carrera flew out to center his first time up. 1-1 ball game. Carrera filling in tonight in left field. He's been playing in right field in the absence of Jose Bautista defensively.
everything inside. They're pitching him in, but they're playing him away. They don't think that he's going to be able to get the bat head out.
Well, he's got sneaky power. There's no question about that.
We are shallow in left field for him, and they're playing him the other way.
Taking all the way, hit that 2-run home run to right.
How shallow Kobayashi is in left field and how he shades him towards the line. He gets the head out and pulls one down the right field line, and we've seen him do that. He can run all day.
Pulled that ball off the fence in front of the cameras.
You know, that's what happens also in interleague play. You just don't have the information. Where you play someone like you do in the American League East and you're within your division, you see them all the time. You know their tendencies. You know where they're going to hit. There's not a lot of information out there for them.
Guerrero's had just 84 at-bats coming into this game. It's a foul ball. You look at the regulars, they're up in the 240s, 250s. Encarnacion came into this game with 252 at-bats. Pilar leads the team with 254, so Guerrero's made the most of his 85 at-bats.
He's playing great defense also. Running the bases well. He's really having a good year for the Blue Jays.
He takes a 1-out walk. No, Guerrero's aboard for Bautista. Jose popped up on a pitch that he thought he should have hit hard. He popped it up. Catcher made the play on it in fair territory. Jose scored a couple of runs in yesterday's game. He was 0 for 4 with a walk. Good block by Ruiz. He went down, blocked that curveball into there. Ruiz is in his 11th season here with the Phillies. He's now 37 years old. He's a big part of their World Series ball club. Guerrero has 3 steals. He's been caught twice.
Tough to run in this situation against Hellickson and against Ruiz, but more importantly, Bautista, Donaldson, and Encarnacion coming up.
Good eye by Bautista. He lays off that low fastball. It's 2-0. Hellickson's always had a great move. He won the Gold Glove. He was a co-winner along with Jake Peavy in 2012. Best fielding pitcher in the American League.
He's got some hardware. Again, this is his 6th year in the big leagues. He's bounced around a little bit since he's left Tampa. Spent some time in Arizona. Traded over here last November for Scott McWilliams. It's a good pickup for the Phillies. He's had success against the Blue Jays. He's beaten them 5 times in his career. Second most career wins versus any opponent.
Has 9 wins against the Orioles, a 9-4 record against one of his former AL East opponents. 2-1 to Bautista. Deep drive to center. Herrera is back. He's got room. Carrera's going back to tag. He's going to try to advance into second. The throw is a good one, and he is out. What about Herrera? As deep as you can get here in center field, right up against the fence. Herrera tried to advance into scoring position, but Herrera makes a terrific throw. This will be his 5th assist of the outfield, and a good throw. Plenty of time. Good tag by Hernandez in second. For the Blue Jays, joined Blue Jays last year, didn't make his first start till the first week of May because of an injury last season. But boy, he's made the most of his first 40 starts.
Yeah, he also started the year in the bullpen for the Blue Jays, came out of that bullpen, and all he has done, he's had the lowest whip, the walks plus hits, divided by innings pitched in his first 40 starts as a Blue Jay in their career. Better than Roger Clemens, better than Juan Guzman, better than David Wells at 1.03. Outstanding for Marco Estrada. Just does not give you anything good to hit.
He's been terrific. His opponent's batting average over that same 40 games, 196. And you look at his numbers, and if you didn't put a name on the numbers, you'd say, okay, lowest whip, lowest opponent's batting average, ERA, everything. You'd think, wow, that's one of the premier pitchers in the league. And he's turned into one of the premier pitchers in the league.
Yeah, minus the strikeouts, you would think that that would be Clayton Kershaw. When you look at all those numbers, if there wasn't a name attached to it.
Jeremy Hellickson leading off the bottom of the third. Pulls it on the ground. Donaldson from foul ground. Look at that play. Oh my, Josh Donaldson knew he didn't have much time to stop. So he threw before he really stopped his momentum, threw over his shoulder and threw a strike. And you can see him holstering that big right arm.
Do you know how hard of a play this is? He throws it from the third base coaching box and throws it high enough where Encarnacion doesn't have to stretch. It's right on target, right at Encarnacion over at first base. What a first out. Recorded by Donaldson.
Terrific play by Josh, and players will practice those plays. They'll make 2 or 3 of those plays a day just as they're finishing up on their infield work. Now, just saying, okay, what if I get a tough play down the line? I'm going to throw it over my shoulder on the run. Now watch this play.
Catches it first of all, tricky hop, and then throws it high. No, Encarnacion didn't have to move. Didn't have to stretch for the ball. It was right on target. What a play. Who knows where that ball down the line would have led to this inning.
Center fielder Odubel Herrera had a soft liner to third his first time up. He got fooled on the pitch, was way out in front, just kind of swiped at the ball, hit it off the end of the bat right to Donaldson.
You know, those kind of plays, I'm sitting here thinking about that. If the pitcher gets on right there, if that ball gets by him, he's at second base. You're talking, it could be 2 or 3 runs across the board. Now he makes that great play and everybody forgets about it, right?
Fly ball to left, no problem. Herrera is there. He gets Herrera. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. For Shaw, that's RBI number 37, and they've got the knuckleballer on the mound tonight. Stephen Wright, boy, he has pitched well coming into this game with a ERA just around 2. Of course, the Blue Jays will go to Baltimore to take on the Orioles for a 3-game series beginning Friday night. Evan Sanchez will start that game for the Blue Jays.
They've got their best pitchers lined up for that one, don't they? I'll tell you, the game last night was a good game between those two.
Tillman and Price, yep. Chris Tillman did a nice job as he beat Price, and in that game, Zach Britton picked up his 20th save. Well, it's always a lot of fun to come to Philadelphia and watch the Philly fanatic do his thing. Best mascot in baseball.
By far.
By far.
The best. When the game starts or before the game starts, he always stands in front of the visitors' dugout and mocks them. Gets all over every one of them. Well, you see what he's doing to that Blue Jay fan. Hang in there. You're not the only one he does it to.
He has been doing it for years, and he really knows baseball. And you'll remember years ago when the Phillies had all these future Hall of Famers and star players, he had all their batting stances down to a T. and he would mock them as they made their way to the plate. Ground ball. Devin Travis has it. Good inning for Estrada. 3 up, 3 down. Marco has retired 6 straight since giving up the home run to Cody Ashley. And the Philly Fanatics getting a selfie.
$5 fan pack. Price includes shipping, and it includes a reusable Blue Jays jersey tote bag, stainless steel kids water bottle, a Blue Jays blow-up baseball bat, a Blue Jays hat, and Blue Jays shoelaces. You can get your pack today by visiting bluejays.com/broadcast auction. If you missed our auction on the air a few weeks ago, this is a great way to contribute to Jays Care. Buck?
Well, it sure is. And how about this, Barry? Mom, if you're having a birthday party for your youngster, why not buy a few of those and make those out as party favors? Pretty nice little gift. Josh Donaldson. He'll lead things off. Josh grounded out the shortstop his first time up.
I'm so anxious to see how they pitch Encarnacion. He's on deck.
Well, that's why it's so very important for Donaldson to get on base. Edwin has homered already tonight.
When there's runners on base, they have to pitch to Edwin, right?
Donaldson has really done a good job of walking a lot lately. If he's not getting his pitch, he will turn the things over to the guy behind him. And lately, that's been Edwin Encarnacion.
He has gotten on base 19 consecutive games, so he's taken his walks, but now he's starting to hit the ball. 3-0, they might let him swing away.
Takes another walk. That's the third walk he has had in this Phillies series. And when Encarnacion homered his first time up.
They kept the ball away. They got 2 strikes, and they said, maybe I could slip something by him on the inner half. Well, that's not going to work. That is a long, deep drive into the second deck here at Citizens Bank Park. That's Edwin's 17th home run. And now gets another shot with a runner at first base.
Edwin giving that parrot a ride around the bases. Phillies were talking about that from yesterday's game. He hit the 2-run home run in the 7th inning at Rogers Center yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, some of them had a feeling. They said that they might see the parrot in that one at bat. And Edwin didn't let him down.
Take a look at the numbers during this hit streak. 9 for 18, 3 doubles, 5 home runs, and 10 RBIs. That's a hit streak. Now, I don't want to hear about any pedestrian hit streak. A couple of singles just to keep it going. That's a hit streak.
That is doing some damage.
And he knows he's not going to get much to hit from Hellickson. Russell Martin is on deck. But you can bet he's got permission to swing if he gets something in the head.
Yeah, would you ever want to take the bat out of his hands when he's swinging this well?
So it's back-to-back walks to start the fourth. Donaldson walks. He moves to second as Encarnacion goes to first. 3 walks now issued by Hellickson. Gets a visit from his catcher.
Didn't want any part of them. Not even close on all 4 of those pitches.
Russell Martin, he popped out to the catcher his first time up, and actually popped out to the first baseman. Russell is now 1 for 12 against Hellickson.
That's a little odd right there what we just showed you. 56 pitches, 28 balls, 28 strikes for Hellickson. Told you that he came into this game, he had only walked 20 batters all season long.
Donaldson takes off. Encarnacion's right behind him as they pull off the double steal. After walking the first 2 of the inning, Hellickson was more concerned about throwing a strike than he was about keeping an eye on the base runner.
How about the job Russell Martin did also to stick that bat out there? Watch him. As the runners take off early, Martin sticks the bat out there, distracting Ruiz, the catcher. Pulls it back, and Ruiz can't come up with it. Double steal.
5 straight steals for Donaldson. He's not been caught. That's the second for Encarnacion. He too has not been caught. Boy, Josh did a great job. He just kept walking off second until Hellickson turned the ball loose.
He never even looked at him.
Russell Martin hits one to left field. Donaldson's tagging. He's going to come in to score. Russell Martin continues to drive in runs. Russell now has an RBI in 6 straight games. That ties his career high.
And he just missed knocking that ball out of the ballpark. This is a very good hitter's ballpark. It's not very deep, and the ball really flies here. That one right off the end of the bat by Martin, but he gets it deep enough to score the run. Stolen bases help out the Blue Jays.
Well, they sure do. And Russell, he helped his own cause by waving that bat in front of the catcher's eyes. Encarnacion in scoring position at second for Kevin Pilon. Hellickson's not going to get caught twice this inning. So he turns and looks at Encarnacion. Edwins stole third base on Sunday against the Orioles, and that's where he jammed up his right finger on his right hand, and he would score when the throw got away from Manny Machado, the third baseman.
I don't know if he'd steal here, but the infielders are playing deep. And Hellickson's not even looking at him. When he comes set, not even looking at him. Now he does.
Breaking ball. Hellickson's never been a guy that throws a lot of pitches over the middle of the plate. He's kind of a nibbler where he'll work to both sides of the plate. In that regard, that's where he and Estrada are quite a bit different. Marco will throw a lot of strikes, really commanding his fastball to both sides of the plate.
Hellickson's got a good changeup, but Marco's is better. They throw about the same speed with their fastball.
Pilar surprised that was a strike, but you could see on pitch tracker it was well within the strike zone. Two pitch. Ground ball. Blanco has it. Encarnacion holds his ground at second. Pilar's retired. 2 down.
The all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Beautiful Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Ryan Goins, he hit a deep triple to center field his first time up. He was stranded as Devin Travis struck out to end the inning. Came back in the second. 2-1 Blue Jays. 2 outs here in the top of the fourth. Ryan's finally starting to get the bat going. 320 over his last 10 games.
Put a charge into that last at bat. I mean, he really scorched it to right center field. They too are playing Goins around to the left, like he's not really a guy who can get around on Hellickson's fastball. That might be a mistake.
Inside. 2 balls and a strike. Blue Jays got a home run from Encarnacion in the second. They scored on a sac fly off the bat of Russell Martin here in the fourth. They have a 2-1 lead over the Phillies. Edwin's home run number 17, RBI number 57.
Love to pick him up at second base. 2 outs. You can get a big lead if you're Edwin Encarnacion. Get a big lead, and if there's a base hit to left field, it's going to be close because he is so shallow.
Goins has really made a conscious effort to stay on the ball. He was pulling off pitches early in the season.
Even when he wasn't trying, it just something, a bad habit that he got in spring training, that he just started pulling the ball. He felt like his hips were opening up just a little bit too much, so he's done a lot of cage work in the last couple of weeks, trying to stay on that ball and trying to hit that ball right over the shortstop's head. Keep that lower half closed a little bit longer.
Ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit. Encarnacion's getting the wave around third. He's going to score. Ryan Goins is 2 for 2, and he knocks in the second run this inning to give the Blue Jays a 3-1 lead.
I'll tell you what, he kept his front side in that time and kept that lower half closed long enough to take it right back through the middle. There are so many hits back through the middle. Outside breaking ball, he just takes it right where it came from. Brooke Jacoby was telling me the other day, he says there is a lot of hits right back through the middle, and there's a perfect example of one right there. 2-out RBI single by Goins.
So Devin Travis will bat with Goins at first. Travis struck out on a Hellickson changeup his first time up. He threw him 2 curveballs and a changeup with a runner at third base and 2 outs. He didn't get anything to hit, but he chased a changeup.
Just peek over your shoulder and see who's hitting behind you. That's all you have to do. They might try to be a little bit more aggressive this time because they want to get him out. They want to get him out so Estrada leads off next inning. So they might try and show him a fastball at some point.
Goins, a triple and an RBI single in his 2 plate appearances so far tonight. 1-1 to Travis. It's that Hellickson changeup, and it's a good one. 2-2. Baltimore is in Boston playing the Red Sox, and Boston has a 3-0 lead, bottom of the 3rd inning. Baltimore leads the AL East by a game over Boston. There's a broken bat, base hit down the left field line. Goins is around second. He's headed for third. They're waving him home. Here's a relay from Galvis. It is cut off, and Goins slides in safely. Travis is out into rundown. Good job by Louis Rivera. He knew the pitcher was coming up, so they'll take a shot to score Goins, and they get him. Louis did a nice job, and Travis congratulated for the RBI. Ryan Goins, running from first base, kept his eye on Louis Rivera the whole way around. You got the pitcher coming up next. Go ahead, Ryan. You can score. And he forced the Phillies to cut the ball off. 4-1 Blue Jays.
Game 5 of the NBA Final, both LeBron James and Kyrie Irving dropped 41 points, so Cleveland will bring the final back home down 1. Can the Cavs tie the series against Curry and the Warriors? NBA Finals Game 6 goes Thursday on Sportsnet. Buck, who knew the Cavs would still be in this?
They got King James. They're always going to be in it. Pat Tabler knew they'd still be in it.
I got my hand raised.
Yes, he
I
does.
thought they'd be in it. I think it's going 7.
They rattled the cage of the Cavaliers. They should have left them alone and let them sleep, but they didn't. And now, for the first time they ever had 2 teammates score 41 in a playoff
finals.
game.
Finals. How about that?
Terrific. Marco Estrada has a 4-1 lead. It'll be Blanco Joseph and Cody Ashley, 3, 4, and 5 in the Phillies lineup. Boy, all of a sudden the Blue Jays, in every aspect of their play, things are really coming together. Goins did a terrific job running the bases there. John Gibbons has seen clutch pitching. Bullpen's throwing better. Base running has been terrific.
I thought Devin Travis did a heck of a job running the bases there. He forced them to cut the ball and then to trade an out for a run, which is, you know, something that's not going to show up in the box score, but it's going to help to do these kind of things right here. The Kings of Swing during that last homestand, they averaged almost 7 runs a game, hit 11 home runs. They also hit a lot of doubles. Devin Travis has a double tonight. A couple more home runs for the Blue Jays.
Leadoff walk issued by Estrada. He throws a first pitch strike to Tommy Joseph. The Blue Jays averaged 4 runs a game in April, 4.31 in May, and now they're over 5, almost 5.5 runs a game in June.
That's the magic number, isn't it?
5.5. Yep.
5 runs a game, and you got your chance. You improve your chances of winning.
When you look at the Boston Red Sox and what they have done, they're scoring 5.89 runs per game. The Blue Jays for the season 4.42. Baltimore 479. Blue Jays last year were 5.5 a game. That led to that terrific offensive season. The Blue Jays have won 18 games at home. They've also won 18 games on the road. They've done a good job in winning road series this season.
They finally went over 500 at home.
That's popped up into center field. A high fly ball. Pilar waits on it. Tommy Joseph is retired. One down.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY expert sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Bit of a shot of downtown Philadelphia, not far from Citizens Bank Ballpark. Cody Ashe hit a home run into the second deck. His first time up, home run number 2 for the season. It was the 10th home run Estrada has allowed this season. Ashe's home run in the bottom of the second tied it at 1-1. Line drive. Bautista's going to have to retrieve it off the wall. Blanco's being waved around third. He's going to score without a throw. Cody Ashe is 2 for 2. He's driven in both Philly runs.
Looked like he might have hit a cutter out for the home run, and it looked very comfortable against Marco Estrada on that off-speed pitch. Stays back. He's got a very quick bat. Curveball. Stays on it and drills it into the gap in right center field. Bautista hustles over. Has a little trouble getting it back into the infield, and that allows Blanco another leadoff walk. Scores.
Blue Jays had back-to-back leadoff walks in the top half of the inning, and they both came in to score. Carlos Ruiz, the catcher. Ruiz is from Panama. The Phillies signed him as an international free agent in 1998. He had 16 home runs for Philadelphia in 2012. He's always been regarded as a premier catch and throw guy. Does a terrific job handling pitchers.
In any offense that you get, I think, is a bonus. I mean, he's handled some great staffs here in Philadelphia. Staffs that went to the playoffs, staffs that went to the World Series and won.
Popped up over near the Phillies dugout. Encarnacion has room on the warning track. Ruiz is retired on a pop to the first baseman.
Who were some of those pitchers? They had Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee.
Brett Myers. Brett Myers was a good pitcher for them. Cole Hamels. They did a terrific job handling all those great pitchers. So Cody Ashe has been a one-man wrecking crew against Estrada. He's driven in both of these runs. But the Phillies trail by 2. This is Cesar Hernandez, who flew out to center field on one pitch his last time up.
It's been a struggle so far tonight for Marco Estrada. Hasn't been able to find one pitch that he can go to tonight.
So when you're in doubt, go back to your bread and butter, your changeup. If you can't really command your fastball, and curveball is not where you want it to be, he always knows he can go back to that terrific changeup. There's a good fastball.
That was a real good fastball. Just 89 miles an hour, but through that changeup, the pitch before that, Hernandez was looking for the same thing. He threw a fastball right by him. Now the hitter's like, I don't know what he's going to throw here.
He goes back to the changeup. Another strikeout. Hernandez strikes out. They'll go to the fifth. The Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn from the Samsung Broadcast Studio.
You have a chance to get a t-shirt presented by Pinty's. It is the Edwin shirt giveaway. It goes on Wednesday, June 22nd. Arrive early. The gates open at 2 o'clock for the 4:07 game. The first 15,000 fans will receive one of those Ed Wing shirts. They look fantastic, Buck.
Well, they sure do, and it's a terrific giveaway. And Edwin is certainly having a great start to his season. 17 homers and 57 RBIs so far. Marco Estrada, the pitcher, starts things off. 0-2. Marco popped up to the second baseman, and this time he gets a curveball and strikes out. Oh, we've been watching the Nationals as they play the Cubs, and the Nationals just walked off the Chicago Cubs in the 12th inning. Dusty Baker was ejected by the home plate umpire. That's not a very nice birthday present. It's Dusty's 67th birthday today. And that being said, one of our great Blue Jay fans is having a birthday today. We want to say happy birthday to Don Carson. We know you're watching, Don, and we all send our love and happy birthday wishes from the booth.
Your son says happy birthday too.
Ezekiel Carrera, the leadoff man, he has flied out and walked. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead. Jays have homered again. Blue Jays hit 4 home runs yesterday. Edwin Encarnacion homered in the second tonight. Carrera's always got that bunt in his back pocket. He catches the infield back, catches them sleeping a little bit. He'll drop it down.
That has gone around the scouting reports, and the teams that we now play, when Ezekiel Carrera plays, they play the corners in. He could just slap the ball right by those guys now.
Hard ground ball to second. Hernandez has it. 2 outs. Check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, that's a real good matchup. Nationals going into action tonight, a 5-game lead in the NL East. The Cubs 9.5 games ahead of the Cardinals in the NL Central. Foul ball just outside of third.
Those might be the two best teams in the National League. We might see them win their division and end up playing them each other in the playoffs. They both have 40+ wins now this season.
Washington with 41, Cubs with 44, and the Giants with 40. Only team in the American League with 40 wins, the Texas Rangers.
Looking at this today, what division is the only division where every team has 30 wins in it?
The AL East.
Talk about banging on each other's head.
That's why it's going to be important for the Blue Jays to get out of the East after this Orioles series. Friday they will go to Baltimore, take on the Orioles Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that'll be the last time they play an American League East team until late in July. 30 straight games outside the division.
Outside of it, you know, got to be able to do something with that.
Bautista rips it into right. Borges plays it on a couple of hops. Jose has a 2-out single, his first hit of the night. Well, the Blue Jays put Jose Bautista in the leadoff spot on May 19th in Minnesota to start that series. And since May 19th, they've got the best record in the East.
And someone asked John Gibbons the other day, okay, is Jose Bautista your typical type of leadoff hitter? You're going to move him out of there? Why would I? Look at the record. The number shows. Managers are all about winning. They're 17-8, the best record in the American League East since then. So why would they change anything?
Excuse me, Pat. The only reason Carrera's leading off tonight is because Michael Saunders isn't in the game. Saunders gets back in the lineup tomorrow. Bautista will be up in the leadoff spot. Donaldson will hit second, and Edwin will hit third.
And you got the pitcher spot down there. They want to get a hitter ahead of the big three, if you will. Bautista, Donaldson, and then Encarnacion. They want somebody to be on base.
Josh Donaldson. Josh walked and scored in the fourth. Hellickson walked Donaldson to start the inning and then walked Encarnacion right behind him. And they both came around to score. Two balls and a strike to the third baseman.
Josh reminds me a little bit of a great third baseman who played in this city for years and years. Athletic Mike Schmidt, great fielder, great hitter. He's got some of those tendencies, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's very athletic, and Schmidt was athletic, quite a bit bigger than Donaldson, but oh, what a power hitter and a terrific defender as well. Number 20, Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt. Donaldson bounces it deep to short. Bautista is going to be out at second on the force out. That'll end the inning. Blue Jays will leave a base runner. We'll move to the bottom of the fifth.
WWE superstars risk it all in a ladder match, competing for the chance to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. WWE Money in the Bank goes June 19th on the WWE Network. Visit WWE.com/Canada. To the bottom of the fifth we go. Let's send it back to Buck and Pat.
Thank you very much, Barry. It'll be 8-9-1 for the Phillies. Peter Borges will lead things off in the pitcher's spot. Jeremy Hellickson.
See Borges looking around like he might want to try and drop a bunt down somewhere. See him glancing over at Encarnacion and Donaldson. His job is to get on base for the pitcher.
So the pitcher can have a productive at bat.
Bunt him along.
You're right about hitting in the 8th spot in the National League. It's a real tough spot in the batting order.
I think it takes a veteran. I think it takes a guy who's got good back control and a good eye at the plate, because you're going to get a lot of breaking balls and you're going to get a lot of off-speed pitches. They're not going to attack you. Borges is doing a pretty good job right here.
Work to count to 2-2. Strike 3 call. Estrada picks up the strikeout. That's his 4th of the evening. Marco Estrada has put together a heck of a string. This is his 13th start of the season. You look at his last 5 starts, and the numbers across the board are very impressive.
Well, let's take a look at who he pitched against. Baltimore, heavy hitters over there at Fenway Park. The Yankees twice, and Minnesota, and he has put up some great numbers. He hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs over that time. He hasn't given up more than 4 hits in a game over that time.
To expand on that a bit, Marco Estrada came into this game with 9 straight games, allowing 5 or fewer hits. In fact, coming into this start tonight, he had allowed 5 or fewer hits in 10 of his 12 starts.
You know, amazing. Amazing. That's a club record if you're wondering, those 9 straight starts with at least 5 hits. Lower than 5 hits, there's going to be another strikeout. And he's doing it in the American League with the bigger lineups, deeper lineups, the designated hitter. And if he was doing that in the National League against some of these teams with the weaker lineups and the pitcher hitting, I could see that. He's doing it against some great teams.
Well, and you mentioned those last 5 games. First of those 5 was at Minnesota. Then he had New York, Boston, and Baltimore. All AL East teams with those potent lineups. Back to the top of the order with 2 outs. This is Odubel Herrera.
I don't think it's a mirage anymore. You know, everybody was wondering when the season started, well, is Marco Estrada going to be the same guy we saw last year? Pitched a great game in the playoffs, if you remember that, against Kansas City.
Pitched a great game against Texas to keep the hopes alive in that division series. Broken bat grounder. Travis waits on it. 3 up, 3 down. No problem for Marco Estrada. Again, he's retired 5 in a row. Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Well, the Philly fanatic is back at it. He can't get anybody to cooperate. Trying to get somebody to dance with him, and nobody wants to play along. So we move to the 6th, and when Encarnacion gets a first pitch curveball. Edwin has homered and walked. He scored a pair and driven in a run. Look at Edwin's got his hand on his hips, and that's not a strike. Do you know how hot I am? I know what a strike is.
And he's right, according to pitch tracker.
Yeah,
both of those
they're both off the plate inside.
Off the plate. Well, we've been waiting for Edwin to heat up, and once the calendar switched over to June, here he comes. 17 RBIs, leads all American leaguers. 17 ribbies. Also 25 of his last 38 hits have gone for extra bases.
And don't look now, but Josh Donaldson has crept into the picture as well. Donaldson, he's up to 42 RBIs. Bautista has 40. Edwin now has 57.
What's going to happen when he starts hitting with runners in scoring position? That's the only flaw, I guess you could say, in his season so far. He just hasn't been able to hit with runners in scoring position, but who cares? He's got 57 ribbies.
Off the plate outside. 2-2. That has been a problem for the entire Blue Jays offense. Their inability to hit consistently with runners in scoring position. 2 balls and 2 strikes, nobody out. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead. Now it's a full count.
Edwin is still under 200. 197 coming into this game with runners in scoring position. He's got 57 ribbies.
The Blue Jays as a team hitting just 225 with runners in scoring position. He strikes out, got a foul tip, held on to by Ruiz. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Colton Murray, the right-hander, loosening up for Philadelphia. One out. Russell Martin had a sac fly his last time up that came in the 4th inning. And he gets hit right on the elbow. Didn't have his elbow pad on. Most of the time he wears an elbow pad.
For that reason right there. Right on that front elbow. You can see he's telling Tim Leeper he doesn't have it. This one just backs up on Hellickson. Hits him right on the elbow. Wonder where it is.
Yeah, he normally wears that elbow pad. It's unusual not to see him with it. Kevin Pillar, he has popped out in Granada. Goes after the first pitch. That's going to be into the seats out of play. Pillar hitting .258. 0-2.
A little bit too close for comfort right there.
Hellickson's quick to first. He really has a very quick move to first, even for guys that aren't base stealing threats. He comes over there very quickly.
And Russell is not taking a very big lead, nor is he going to be trying to steal.
Well, checks his swing. Tony Randazzo down at first.
Ball on the inner half, and Pilar holds up. That really, to me, doesn't constitute a swing.
Brian Goins is on deck. Goins 2 for 2. He has tripled and hit an RBI single. Foul tip held on to by Ruiz. Pilar asking whether or not that hit the ground, and John Gibbons is going to come out and contest the call by Tom Woodring.
That was a good call. It looked like Ruiz caught that ball. John Gibbons isn't so sure. Let's take a look one more time. The ball is foul tipped by Pilar. And that went right into the glove. Good play.
Yeah, he did catch it. Oftentimes you'll see a short hop snared by the catcher, but that went clearly into the glove. Pilar is out on the foul tip. Ruiz, we've talked about what a fine catcher he was. He made a good play, had his glove palm down, and still was able to catch that ball cleanly.
Made a good call there. He's also thrown out 40% of the runners trying to steal against him, so he still has it back there.
Brian Goins, a perfect start to his night. Russell got surprised by the quickness of that pickoff throw. Had to scamper back and then lost his balance.
One more time. Hits the base and then loses his balance. How about him staying on the base?
Kept his toe in contact with that first base bag.
Might want to take a shorter lead, preliminary lead, and then take a bigger secondary lead.
Once you're sure he's unloading it to the plate.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be trying to steal. He'll stay here. And then when Hellickson goes home, take a little bit bigger secondary lead.
Two 2-0. Goins has had a good eye at the plate all night long. Last 10 games, his numbers have improved dramatically. 9 for his last 26 with 5 extra base hits.
Isn't that how it works? You put the time in the cage, and you get those mechanics down with your swing, and then good things start to happen.
Hellickson's wearing out Martin over at first.
Does he think he's going to go?
Maybe he thinks he can get him to stumble off the bag. 2 outs. There's a strike right at the bottom of the zone. Fly ball into center. Herrera is there, and the inning is over. The Blue Jays will leave a base runner. We head to the bottom of the 6th. The Jays have a 4-2 lead. Freddie Galvis will lead things up.
Game in the U.S. like so many are every time the Blue Jays go on the road. You can now share all your experiences as they happen with friends and fans back home. With Roam Like Home from Rogers, you can use your phone exactly as you do at home, starting at $5 a day in the U.S. Go to Rogers.com/roam like home for more details. Buck, this guy is doing it right now. He's roaming like home.
Well, he sure is. He is sitting there next to a Philly fan, so he's probably talking about what a great experience he's having here.
That's a Blue Jay fan.
That's a Canadian Blue Jay fan?
Yeah, the red jersey.
Oh, it was a red jersey. My bad.
They're probably listening to our broadcast.
Marco Estrada starts the bottom of the 6th to Freddie Galvis. Popped up over the Blue Jays dugout.
Nice.
How about that fan? He's got one in his right hand and caught a foul pop-up.
Acting like Josh Donaldson over there. Look at him. Over, oop, get up there, make the catch. Everybody gives him a standing ovation. One of the reasons why Marco has been so successful this year is he's handled left-handed pitching. The changeup is the neutralizer against these lefties. Can't sit on one pitch. That's a fastball that's popped up.
Kevin Pillar, the center fielder, waits on him. Galvis is retired. He's 0 for 3.
The all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Night has fallen here in Philadelphia. Beautiful shot of the downtown area. Andres Blanco, the third baseman, has been on base twice. He has singled. He got a 2-out single in the first, and he walked and scored in the 4th. Gets out in front of that pitch, but that's well fouled.
Couple of fastballs. Now there's going to be some kind of off speed here. I was just talking about him, how he has handled lefties so far this year. He's got the lowest opponent's batting average on changeups to lefties this year. It has just been a great weapon for him. There's another one. How about that weak hack?
Overall, left-handers have hit just 171 against Estrada coming into this game. Righties, they've hit 165. That's a great split. Both Lefties and righties well under 200 against Estrada. Opponent's batting average, American League leaders. Look at that for the season. Estrada's given up a batting average of 168.
We got Estrada at 168. They've only had 3 hits. Salazar 191, and then the knuckleballer third.
David Wright of the Red Sox is pitching tonight and has a 6-0 lead.
I think if you can neutralize left-handed batters, if you're a right-handed pitcher, it's going to go a long way to helping you to succeed.
Right back to Estrada. He takes his time, flips to first. 2 down. Well, we should mention what happened historically today when the great Ichiro Suzuki hit a double in the 9th inning in the Marlins' 6-3 loss at Petco Park against the Padres. He was 2 for 5 today, and the 42-year-old outfielder now has 4,257 hits when you combine his hits in Japan with his major league hits, and he passes Pete Rose for the total number of hits. Of course, Pete Rose all came in the major leagues. Donaldson, another terrific play. Oh man, what a play by Donaldson, and then kind of shown on the other end, scooped the low throw. The defense is always on their toes with Estrada pitching. He throws so many pitches over the plate. This ball is headed down the left field line. Donaldson dives into foul ground up and throws a one-hopper. Scooped over at first by Double E. Terrific play on both ends.
Three times daily. Go to WestJet.com to book your flight and cheer on the Jays the next time they're at Fenway. WestJet, a proud partner of the Toronto Blue Jays. Back to you, Buck.
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. A lot of Blue Jay fans here in attendance tonight in Philadelphia. So far, so good for the Blue Jays. They have a 4-2 lead as they're set to bat against the new pitcher, Colton Murray. They saw Murray yesterday as he pitched in the 7th inning in that game at Rogers Center.
They tagged him for a hit and a couple of runs. Edwin took him deep for a 2-run home run. Murray's got a pretty decent arm right over the top with his fastball. Creates a lot of good depth with that fastball when he gets on top of it. Hard curveball and a changeup. And a nice little arm. Throws pretty hard.
Murray got into 8 games last year with Philadelphia. He was drafted in the 13th round by Phillies in 2011 out of Kansas, University of Kansas. Grew up in Overland Park, Kansas, outside of Kansas City. Devin Travis bounces it towards short. High hopper Galvis, no problem at all. 1 down here in the 7th. Marco Estrada getting his third at bat. He has popped out and struck out. He doesn't need to get on base at this point of the ball game.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, should I even let him swing right here? If you recall, at spring training, whenever the Blue Jays went over to play the Phillies and the pitchers had to hit, they never swung the bat. They just stood there and watched every pitch come right down the middle. They weren't going to allow them to swing and run on the bases because they're not used to it. This game here, this at bat's a throwaway at bat. Doesn't mean anything.
You see Andy Burns on the rail there talking with Darwin Barney. He's just been added to the roster. He was called up from AAA Buffalo for these 2 games here in Philly, and no telling if they'll keep him beyond.
Thinking about that and not swinging and all that, I recall Mark Burley last year about this time. Remember that when we were in Washington and Burley was pitching in that game and he was hitting. Base hit. He's like sliding into second base, breaking up double plays. He wasn't going to go down just standing at the plate.
Yeah, he broke up a double play and he did just about everything. He had a sac fly in that game.
In one.
Oh yeah, well he won the game.
Won the game.
Going to do whatever he could to contribute. 2-2 to Estrada. He swings and lines out to the first baseman. So he doesn't have to run the bases.
That's okay. Now if you're Ezequiel Carrera, take your time. Heading up to the plate, let Marco get down. Go to the dugout, sit down, have a drink of water, and rest up for the bottom of the inning.
Over the years, we have seen Blue Jays pitchers hitting in interleague play when they get on base. It's so unusual for them. It's their heart rate going. It's a strange occurrence. They're running the bases for the first time all year. And we have seen pitchers come out after running the bases and have terrible innings on the mound.
Seen too many pitchers over the years, if you're not used to running the bases, getting hurt. Scott Downs got hurt. Remember when he was with the Blue Jays coming out, I think it was right here in Philadelphia. He swung, tried to run and twisted his ankle.
Well, when you and I played, we always used to tease the pitchers about not being athletes. We don't want you guys to swing, you'll get hurt. That's no longer the case. The Blue Jays have some pretty good athletes in their pitching staff.
Real good athletes. I think every one of their starters are good athletes.
Ezequiel Carrera swings on the 2-0 pitch. Blue Jays have just 5 hits. They've made the most of those 5 hits. They have scored 4 runs and have a 2-run lead. Marco Estrada has held the Phillies to just 3 hits again. Estrada coming into this game had a 9-game streak in which he has allowed no more than 5 hits, 5 or fewer hits for 9 straight games.
You know, and it's not like he was going 5 innings or 6 innings. He was going 8 a couple of times against the Yankees in Boston, 7 against the Yankees another time.
Boy, there's a rope to right field off the bat of Carrera.
He's just getting more confident the more he plays. Carrera was a Philly for about 2 weeks. And he had some hellos to say to some of his ex-teammates. This time all over this 3-1 fastball and rips it into right field.
You know, he was kind of limping when he ran down to first base. I think he kind of turned his ankle on that 2-0 swing. He took a mighty cut and looked like he might have twisted an ankle slightly. Good block by Ruiz. That breaking ball was way out in front of home.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope that he is okay. Let's take a look at that 2-0 swing. He's thinking like Edwin and going to the downs, and you see that back foot rolled over it a little bit. Yeah, I think you're all over that one. Let's hope he is okay, as Michael Saunders is out today because of some hamstring problems.
Pitching coach Bob McClure has come out of the Phillies dugout to have a visit with Colton Murray. McClure, I was a teammate of Bob McClure's in Kansas City and Milwaukee. He was a very good left-handed pitcher, and now he's become a terrific pitching coach. Trying to help Murray here in this situation with Bautista at the plate and 2 outs.
He fell behind Carrera, then got burned. Now he's fallen behind Jose. Jose should be looking for a fastball right here.
He wasn't looking for that one.
Up and in.
He was able to get out of the way. But now you really got to zero in. You could even cheat to the fastball here. Take a guess that you're going to get another heater.
That's what Encarnacion did yesterday. He hit it a long way.
Pops up the fastball. That's Galvis at short, and the inning is over. We'll head to the bottom of the 7th. Marco Estrada doing his thing, looking for his 5th win of the season.
Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is here. Head to BlueJays.com and choose your hashtag ASG-worthy stars and send them to the MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 12th in San Diego. Vote today, vote tomorrow, vote often at BlueJays.com/vote. Right now, guys, Edwin and Donaldson are behind. They need your votes. We've got to get them to the All-Star Game again this year.
Absolutely, and the way they have played here tonight, Donaldson with the glove, Edwin with the bat. You better break out those ballots and start voting for Donaldson and Encarnacion. This is Cody Ashe, and he has been the only one to get to Estrada. Ashe has homered, and he has an RBI double, 2 for 2. The 10th home run that Estrada has allowed came in the 2nd inning, a leadoff home run in the 2nd. Pops this one over the screen.
I think it's time for some changeups. Hit a curveball last time for the double. Got a pitch out over the plate. It looked like it might have been a fastball or a cutter. I think it's time for some changeups, and only changeups.
Marco Estrada pitching into the 7th. Jesse Chavez has been throwing. He is just about ready should they need him. Fly ball into center field. Pilar's got plenty of room in that spacious outfield. Makes the catch. She's retired for the first time.
That changeup just takes the sting out of some of the bats. You know, you throw it, you see him. He's been on all of his hard stuff tonight. He just throws that thing and takes it off the barrel of the bat, hits it off the end, and it's just an easy fly ball to center field. Not a lot of hard contact against Marco Estrada.
Catcher Carlos Ruiz, 0 for 2. He's out in front, pops this one down the left field foul line. Long run for all three defenders, and that's into the seats. Carrera, Donaldson, and Goins all giving chase. Hector Neris, the hard-throwing right-hander, is loosening up for Philadelphia. Remember, you have to keep your eye on that pitcher's spot when you're in a National League ballpark, and
always got to know where it is.
Just a couple of spots away. Ruiz is batting 6th. 3 spots away from the pitcher's spot, so the Phillies are optimistic if they can get something going. They might have use for a pinch hitter. Behind second and got the catcher running, so they've got a little extra time. Ruiz is thrown out by Devin Travis from the edge of the grass.
I'll tell you what, Marco Estrada, he was a little out of sorts a little bit the first couple of innings as he was trying to find his release point in all of his pitches, but these last 4 innings, he's been outstanding. That's 10 in a row that he has set down since that double by Ashe.
Got a terrific play from Donaldson and Encarnacion to end the 6th off the bat of Tommy Joseph. Donaldson dove into foul ground to make the stop and then got up and threw a one-hopper to first base, scooped by Encarnacion. So Estrada's got good defensive support as well. The Cody Ashe home run came in the 2nd inning. It's the 8th straight game the Blue Jays have allowed a home run. They've had home runs now in 10 of their last 11 games. There's a base hit for Hernandez into the alley. He's hustling around first, but he'll stop as Pilar gets it back in quickly. His first hit. So that 2-out base hit will bring the tying run to the plate. And the Phillies have one big weapon on their bench, and they're going to use it right here. Ryan Howard comes off the bench, and John Gibbons has made the call. Marco Estrada will give way to Jesse Chavez. Blue Jays had called up Chad Gerardo, a left-handed reliever, but he's not loose. So Estrada will leave. He cannot lose it. He can win it. Another terrific outing for Estrada. Here comes Jesse Chavez with 2 outs. He'll face the pinch hitter Ryan Howard when we come back to Philadelphia.
7 Canadian teams in the NHL, but the good news is they all have a good draft pick coming up. It is the 2016 NHL entry draft. It goes June 24th. You can see it on Sportsnet. The Leafs with the #1 pick overall. Buck?
Thank you very much. Very exciting time in the hockey world, that 2016 draft. Very anxious time for Blue Jay fans here in Philadelphia. Jesse Chavez is into the game to face the pinch hitter Ryan Howard, and Chavez has really been throwing the ball well of late.
He's kept the ball down. He has used his cutter to effective parts of the strike zone. He's only walked 9 batters. And Howard is a low ball hitter and he's a fastball hitter. Marco Estrada keeps that string alive. Less than 5 hits.
10 straight games now. He allowed 4 hits in 6 2/3. Howard turns on that inside pitch. Ryan Howard batting .149, but you'll notice the 10 home runs. That's why he's up here.
Second on the team to Michael Franco, who has 11. He's 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter.
Howard has 24 hits. He's got 10 homers and 3 doubles. Jesse Chavez strikes him out. Estrada's lead is intact. Good job by Estrada to strike out the pinch hitter Howard. The Blue Jays will bat in the 8th here in Philadelphia. Josh Donaldson will start things off. Edwin Encarnacion has hit his 11th home run here at PNC Park. And then Russell Martin.
Blue Jays. Get 2016 authentic jersey with 4th season sleeve patch available. Get yours today at jshop.ca. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. The pitcher into the ball game is the hard-throwing right-hander Hector Neris, his 34th appearance. Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Martin for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead. Jimmy Paredes comes in to play right field, and he's been inserted into the 9th spot. He'll lead off for the Phillies in that double switch. They bring a pitcher in, and he is in the 8th spot in the batting order. Josh has gone 0 for 2. He walked and scored in the 4th. Look out. Inside.
That's that splitter right there, and he's got a good one. 4th in strikeouts on this team. He's got 42 of them. Pretty good fastball, an improving slider, and that wicked splitter.
Fastball up and in. Donaldson bailed out in a hurry. 3-1. Swing and a drive deep to left, way back and gone. Josh Donaldson, his 16th home run. Second homer of the night for the Blue Jays.
And Josh is starting to get his timing at the plate. He's starting to hit more home runs. Another hit, another RBI, and another run scored, all with one swing of the bat.
Donaldson really starting to heat up in the Blue Jays offense. They've got Encarnacion going, they've got Donaldson going, Russell Martin starting to swing the bat. Bautista has 40 ribbies.
3-1, and he got a fastball. This is what you do with 3-1 fastballs. You don't bring them back.
Splitter inside to Encarnacion.
Josh gets back on that back leg and then unloads, gets the pitch he was looking for. Fastball out over the plate, home run number 16.
Donaldson, that's his third home run in this ballpark. Encarnacion homered in the second in his first at bat. His 11th home run he's hit at Citizens Bank Park.
It's another extra base hit for him now, off of a right-hander. 26 extra base hits now off of righties. That's how you get the job done.
3 home runs, 14 ribbies for Donaldson in the month of June. This is just the 14th game Blue Jays have played this month. The Phillies shut out the Blue Jays 7-0 behind Jared Eichhoff on Monday. And ever since then, the Blue Jays have been wearing it out.
Taking it personally, getting shut out. Their only blemish over the last few ball games offensively. 32 runs in their last 4 games coming into this one.
Encarnacion will take ball 4. He walks for a second time tonight. The Blue Jays have shown good balance when they have gone to their bench and inserted extra players. They have performed well. Darwin Barney's done a nice job. Goins is chipping in. Tonight he's got a triple and an RBI single. Carrera has a walk and a single. So when the big boys aren't hitting, extra men come in, they pick up the slack.
And you know what that does? It gives them a chance to get a day off every now and then. Michael Saunders off. He's been doing a great job. He is off tonight with a little tender hammy. Justin Smoke is on the bench tonight, gives him a little bit of a breather. You mentioned Darwin Barney. He is off tonight. When you have confidence in your bench that you can play them and they can produce and they can help you win, it just makes everybody that much better.
Russell Martin has had a sac fly and he was hit by a pitch. He goes after the first pitch. That's back over the screen and out of play. Double barrel action for the Blue Jays. Chad Durrata was just recalled from AAA Buffalo, and Jason Grilli, the right-hander, has joined him. Jesse Chavez, in ending the 8th inning, struck out the pinch hitter Ryan Howard. Chavez threw 4 pitches to get the strikeout.
Yeah, and he's hot. Makes sense just to bring him back out there for the 8th inning. Don't want to get him hot and throw 4 pitches and then have his night over.
Martin goes after that high pitch. It's 1-2. count. Russell got hit again. That one hit him in the side. So Martin's been hit twice tonight. And hit on the elbow in the 6th.
Thought he might have his pad on his elbow that time up, especially with those splitters going inside like that, but he went up there without it and gets hit again.
We mentioned Russell with that sac fly in the 4th inning has driven in a run in 6 straight games. That ties his career high. He also did that in his first season with the Dodgers. And back in 2006, manager Pete Buchanan has gone through some growing pains with this inexperienced Phillies team. Villar showing bunt, pulls the bat back.
They got off to a great start. And then right around the time the Blue Jays started playing well, the Phillies started playing poorly. They're going in opposite directions.
Villar hits a high fly ball deep to center. Herrera's got room. Conachon is tagging. He'll go to third. Russell Martin will retreat to first. He was thinking about going to second, but Herrera got the ball back in quickly. You see where Pete Buchanan's Phillies are since May 27th. They've gone just 4-14. The Braves, you knew what they were going to do, but look at the White Sox. That's the surprising game to me. And
the Mariners and Pirates.
Yeah,
that's a surprise because those are some possible playoff teams, at least the way they got off to this year. The Mariners and the White Sox. Pirates are a playoff team. Have a night, Ryan.
He's tripled and drove in a run with a single. Goins has had one 3-hit night this season. That came way back early in April on the 13th of April against the Yankees. He went 3 for 4 with a pair of doubles and drove in 2 runs. He can match that with another hit right now.
Situational hitting right now. Get that runner in from third base. Less than 2 outs. Russell gets another throw over to first base. Maris is going to supply the power. I think if you're Ryan Goins, just concentrate on trying to hit the ball out in front and make sure you can get it out in front so you can get it into the outfield. You don't want any long swings here trying to hit home runs or hit fly balls.
Off the pitcher's glove. Goins is out and Encarnacion comes in to score. Good job by Edwin to read that quickly. Once he saw it go off the pitcher's glove, he knew he could score, and he comes in, and that'll be an RBI for Goins.
He's such a smart base runner. He understands the situation. Anything on the ground past the pitcher, you are going to go. And he reads this ball, hits off the plate, off of his glove. Here comes Edwin to score the run. So Goins, good situation hunting. You get the runner in, you also get that guy to second base. Harris goes up and just can't glove it. It's off the end of his glove.
Martin now at second. There are 2 outs for Devin Travis. Travis picked up an RBI with a double. That was in the 4th inning, and he was tagged out in a rundown between second and third as Goins came in to score from first. Michael Saunders has grabbed the bat. He will pinch hit in the pitcher's spot should Travis reach base. There's a base hit for Travis. Martin's coming around third. He's going to score a two-ribby night for Devin Travis. And the Blue Jays have had some big add-on runs.
2 out base hit RBI hits by the Blue Jays, and slowly but surely Devin Travis is starting to get that stroke back that we saw last year. His timing is starting to come around. He's focusing up the middle or the other way. This is just a classic swing from him. Inside out, line drive, and take that every single time with 2 outs and a runner at second base.
So Neris gives up the RBI single to Devin Travis. The Blue Jays have pinch hitter Saunders. So Neris is out. Elvis Araujo, the big left-hander, will come in. Araujo, 6'7", hard-throwing lefty, in to face Michael Saunders, the pinch hitter. The Blue Jays have a 7-2 lead.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Elvis Araujo making his 24th appearance of the season. Araujo pitched in Toronto. He pitched the 8th inning yesterday afternoon. Gave up a base hit to Devin Travis. Struck out Goins to end the 8th. Andy Burns back in the big leagues, getting a pinch hit appearance. He's batting for the pinch hitter Michael Saunders. Burns hits it in the air to center. Herrera over. And that's the inning. Araujo needs 1 pitch to retire the side. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. The Blue Jays have a 7-2 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie and Greg from the Samsung broadcast studio.
and tablet with the MLB.com At Bat app. You can customize At Bat to feature the Blue Jays and stay up to the moment at any moment with scores, news, live game video highlights, and much more. Download MLB.com At Bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball, and Buck, plenty of video highlights to watch of this game.
Absolutely. A couple more home runs for the Blue Jays. And Marco Estrada in line for the win. This will be the third Blue Jays pitcher of the night. Jesse Chavez struck out Ryan Howard to end the 7th. Now Chad Gerardo, fresh back from Buffalo.
Just today, just added to the roster today. It was a 9th-round draft pick by the Blue Jays out of Mississippi State back in 2013. He's in the big leagues in 2016. This is his 3rd stint with the Jays already. 11 games, 432 earned run average. Fastball slider can be very tough for lefties. He is the only lefty that the Blue Jays now have in their bullpen. Scott Diamond was sent down along with Aaron Loop after yesterday's ball game.
And it's tough to operate with just one left-hander in your bullpen. This is Jimmy Paredes. He came in the game defensively in right field in the 8th, and they inserted him into the 9th spot in the lineup. Paredes came into the game yesterday late and did a nice job. He had a couple of hits. He had an RBI double in the 6th and had a single and scored as a right-handed hitter in the 8th against Aaron Loop. Paredes was out taking a lot of extra ground balls and fly balls in right field today. The Blue Jays had him for a while, and they know he can hit. He had a home run while with the Blue Jays. Now the Phillies have him. And he is a good-looking hitter, but he hasn't really refined his defensive skills to the point of where he can play a lot.
Phillies are struggling to score some runs, so I'm surprised that he is not in the lineup a little bit more often because he can hit. He's played some second base for the Blue Jays. We also saw him at third base, make a start there.
Oh, what a nice play by Encarnacion. He leads Gerardo, not in time. Gerardo was a little bit late getting to the bag. It looked like he stepped and missed it. Encarnacion made another fine stop, but it'll be a hit for Paredes.
Lefties, they fall off to the third base side. Edwin made a great catch and took a little time getting it out of his glove. Great play right there. Leads Gerardo, but he's just a little bit late as Paredes beats it out for an infield hit. Does everything right. Now he's got to wait for the ball, and by that time it's just too late.
So Paredes 3 for his last 3 against the Blue Jays. It's a leadoff single here in the 8th. What about Herrera? The center fielder is 0 for 3 so far tonight. Blue Jays lead it 7-2. Pretty impressive average for Herrera, 7th inning or later, hitting .413. Bouncing ball up the middle. Goins will have to go to first as he couldn't stop his momentum. He was already past the bag at second. Couldn't make the force at second, so he goes to first to retire Herrera.
Had some thoughts of getting that lead runner, but you've got a 5-run lead. It's the 8th inning, just get it out. Wherever you can go. Ryan Goins has played a great game tonight. You can see he's upset. Goes over, thinks about it, but he needs the out. Makes the right decision.
Yeah, the ball took him out of that play at second. He just had to go get the ball, and when he caught it, he was past the bag. So Freddie Galvis, he'll bat right-handed for the first time tonight. Switch hitter, shortstop. Goes after the first pitch and lines it to right to Bautista. 2 down. Chad Girardo has been in 11 games for the Blue Jays. This is his 12th. As we mentioned, he was just called up. Girardo at Buffalo this season. It's only been in 10 games. He's gone back and forth, and generally when you do that, you lose a day or two just to get over the traveling aspect of it.
Slower going down, faster coming up.
Oh, much slower going down. It's amazing how quick you can get to the big leagues when you get that call. Hey, we're calling you back up to the big leagues. I'll be there.
When can you be there? Right now. Third stint, like we said, for Chad. So you're right. You're not really sure where the AAA team is at certain times. I mean, you might have to travel cross country to get to the big leagues. And with the parent club, what makes it nice for the Blue Jays, when they are at home and their AAA team is at home in Buffalo, it's a nice hour and a half car ride.
Yeah, you have something go wrong during batting practice, you can have a player at Rogers Center before the start of the game. Andres Blanco, 1-for-2 officially, scored a run after walking to start the fourth. That's a foul ball. Bill Miller, the crew chief down at third base, doing some fancy footwork to get out of the way of that one. The Red Sox have a 6-2 lead over the Orioles at Fenway Park. Orioles are batting in the top of the 8th. Baltimore has a 1-game lead over the Red Sox. The Blue Jays are 3 back. Encarnacion will flip it to Girardo, who is there in plenty of time. And that'll do it for the Phillies in the bottom of the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. The all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Jeremy Hellickson retired the Blue Jays in order in the first inning. Edwin Encarnacion led off the second inning and did this. Into the second deck in left field. He continues to mash Philly pitching in this ballpark. His home run, his 17th of the season. He gets to pair it around the bases with our drive of the game.
Encarnacion expands his lead over Ortiz. David Ortiz had an RBI tonight. He came in 1 ahead of Ortiz, and now he has maintained that 1 RBI lead over David Ortiz. Ezequiel Carrera singled his last time up. Encarnacion has hit 11 home runs in this ballpark in 66 at bats.
That's the thing that's amazing.
66 at bats. Well, there have been a lot of good things that happened for the Blue Jays tonight. The defense was outstanding. Josh Donaldson made a couple of great plays over at third, and Encarnacion a couple of good stops and a nifty scoop on a low throw from Donaldson. Araujo strikes out Carrera, one down in the ninth. Marco Estrada was terrific again tonight. Estrada goes 6 2/3. He allows just 4 hits. It's the 10th straight start in which he has allowed 5 or fewer hits. And the last major league pitcher to have that streak of 10 consecutive games with 5 or fewer hits was Pittsburgh's Francisco Liriano. He had a streak of 12 straight such games from August 25th, 2014 to May 2nd, 2015. That's pretty dramatic when you hold your opponents to 5 or fewer hits.
I'm going to say it again. Marco Estrada is doing it also in the American League with the deeper lineups and the DH. Here are his numbers in 104 pitches. He pitches into the 7th inning again. And he only gives up 4 hits. He had the 3 walks and the 4 strikeouts. 10 in a row now for Estrada. You know, when you look at all of his starts this year, he's only had 1 bad start. And that, I don't know, 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs.
And that start was the first time in 14 starts he'd allowed 7 or more hits. Araujo with the breaking ball strikes out Bautista. Drew Storen, he's really starting to put together some good outings. Storen struck out the side in Monday night's game in the 8th inning. They got Blanco, Joseph, and Ryan Howard all swinging. Now Josh Donaldson hit a home run his last time up.
This Araujo can cause some problems for hitters. It's a big dude, about 6'7". He comes downhill at you.
We mentioned this in the first game of this series, how Donaldson is in a class by himself since 2013. He has the most games with a hit, a run scored, and an RBI. He now has done it 163 times. He did it again tonight. Ground ball, hugging the line is Blanco at third. A long throw, not in time. Josh Donaldson beats it out.
He did that, what you were just talking about, with 1 swing of the bat his last time up with that home run, and this time in a 7-2 game. He's hustling down that line for wanting another hit. He's been on base twice tonight, and he has scored twice off the end of the bat. It sounded like he might have cracked his bat and beats it out.
Well, not only does he get a hit, but he keeps the inning alive and brings Edwin Encarnacion to the plate one more time. I think that had something to do with it as well. Get Eddie back up there one more time. Encarnacion has scored 3 runs tonight. A home run. He's walked twice and scored both of those times. Seven runs on 9 hits for the Blue Jays. 2 runs on 5 hits for the Phillies. Little chopper out in front of home. Araujo throws to first, and that'll do it for the Jays in the top of the ninth. We go to the bottom of the ninth here in Philadelphia. The Blue Jays trying to make it 2 in a row against Philadelphia. Drew Storen coming in to try to wrap it up against Joseph Ashe and Ruiz.
Mother's Day like a good dad joke. Share your best dad joke on the Rogers Facebook page for a chance to win a Samsung 55-inch 4K TV. And for those who don't know what a dad joke is, here's one for you, Buck. Why do chicken coops only have 2 doors?
Why?
Because if they had 4, they would be chicken sedans. Oh, Dad.
Yeah, if you can win with that one, you're going to win a lot of prizes.
You get it, though, right?
I get it. Drew Storen into the ball game, his 27th appearance. As we mentioned, he had a good outing on Monday night. He struck out the side in his only inning of work.
Showed off that changeup, if you remember that inning for Drew. He also, on that last homestand, won his first game as a Blue Jay. Justin Smoke into the ball game also. He will bat in the pitcher spot, in the number 9 spot, as the Blue Jays use the double switch. Put Drew Storen, Buck, in Encarnacion's spot if you're keeping score at home.
Tommy Joseph. He's 0 for 3. Donaldson, a much easier play against Joseph this time. He robbed him of a double last time up. Storen with the first out here in the ninth. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Eric Thomas and Rocco Osman. Thank you very much, Eric. That's coming up right after this ball game. Boston has a 6-4 lead, bottom of the 8th over the Orioles at Fenway Park. That ball is drilled down into the corner. Cody Ashe is headed for second. His 3rd hit of the night, his 2nd double. He's homered, hit 2 doubles. He's 3 for 4 tonight. Blue Jays are going to have to go back to the drawing board on Ashe.
3 extra base hits for Ashe. Looked like a changeup from Drew Storen. Not a bad pitch for the first pitch. He stays back on this one and just gets it by Smoke, who's come into the ball game for defensive reasons. He's looked comfortable tonight, hitting a lot of off-speed pitches.
A 1-out double. Now Carlos Ruiz. The catcher's gone 0 for 3. A couple of ground outs and a pop-up. Ruiz has faced Storen a lot. He's 3 for 11 against Storen. Nice play by Smoke. Storen is there in time to retire Ruiz. Justin Smoke just into the ball game with a nice defensive play. Let's check in quickly with Jamie Campbell. Noah Syndergaard, a terrific young pitcher for the Mets. The Blue Jays traded him to New York for R.A. Dickey.
He just went over 100 pitches in that game, too, so he's gotten into the 9th inning with a shutout under 100 pitches. Pretty impressive.
Phillies down to their final out. We're in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs. Ashe at 3rd. Cody Ashe with his 3rd hit of the night. Cesar Hernandez singled his last time up. Drew Storen trying to close things out for the Blue Jays.
Trying to save that run over there at 3rd base also. That ERA, have it keep going down.
Storen's ERA now at 5.87. As he has put together some pretty good outings lately.
John Gibbons was talking about him before today's game, saying, did you see that changeup? It's a great pitch for him. It's an equalizer, I think, to the left-handers, and he's got a good curveball. good breaking ball that he can use against right-handers, and he's got enough fastball. Gibby was praising Drew Storm with this changeup.
This for that pitch away. It's 3-1 now to Hernandez. Michael Franco has gotten a bat. He's on deck. That's the pitcher's spot, adding 8 after an earlier switch in this game. Hernandez walks. So Michael Franco will bat against the Blue Jays for the first time this season. We have not seen him in the previous 2 games.
Blue Jays saw a lot of him in spring training. Hit a couple of home runs against the Blue Jays. He's got a lightning quick bat. He leads his team in home runs. In 60 games, he's hit 11 home runs.
He's not played since June 12th against the Nationals, and he homered in that game. His 11th home run of the season. We saw him take batting practice, and as Pat mentioned earlier, today he was hitting balls out of the ballpark all over the place.
Like I said, I'd hate to see him when he's healthy. He is a good-looking young player, developed in their farm system. These are the types of players that the Phillies have in their system. They're starting to come, get up here. They're going to be a force in a couple of years.
In particular because of the depth of their young pitching. They've got a terrific young pitching staff.
Yeah, you and I had a chance to talk with Aaron Sanchez before the game today when the Phillies pitchers were hitting, and he couldn't believe how big they were and how young. Wasn't sure that these guys were just 23 years old.
That'll do it. Storen strikes out Franco, and the Blue Jays win it 7-2 as they have really started to come around with the bats, and they got another great start from Marco Estrada tonight.
Marco was outstanding, doing his thing, picking up the win, but the bats, 7 more runs and 9 hits for the Jays, and they left a runner on every inning but 3 of them today, so they were in total control of this ball game.
The Blue Jays now 6 games over 500 for the first time this season. They're going to rain down in the American League East. We'll be back here tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Here's Sportsnet Central. Eric and Ivanka, take it away.